Hey everybody, it's Blake,
And this is Drew.
and you're listening to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Controllers podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoke Controllers podcast. This is episode 127. Yes, we keep doing them. You can't stop us.
Can't stop, won't stop.
This is your boy Drew. Not over there across from me is your boy Blake.
It's your boys at the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Controllers podcast. What that? Sorry.
Wow. Did I already say the episode number?
Yeah, you did. It started all this nonsense.
All right. Well, we got a pretty cool game. It's an interesting and kind of a unique RPG, but we'll get into that for too long. It's also a kind of an anime game, not based off an anime, but a very anime kind of game. We don't play a lot of those anymore like we did when we were teenagers, but there's a lot of cool things to say about it. But before we get into that, you can find us on all the social media platforms just by searching the podcast name. We're on everything. Whether we use it a lot or not is up to me and Blake, and that's on the lesser end of things. I locked in our podcast on Blue Sky. Now I'm old and I don't know what that is. When I made the account, it just looks like Twitter. I locked it in our name on there just in case X takes a fall. I don't know. I don't keep up with what the kids are saying about what social media platform is the cool one to be on. But that's there's that too. I haven't put a link in the show notes for that yet, but because I don't know what it's doing. But there's that. It's on there too. More important than that, because we don't post a lot on those things anyway, is we want people to come to our Twitch streams with our cousin / podcast editor Brian. We are running through a pretty interesting, though kind of glitchy and hard to play game right now called War Tales. It's kind of like just playing a D&D campaign. Realistically, there's no
magic.
There's no magic or really the closest thing to a monster we have was some ghosts.
It looks like it's called a nightmare.
A ghost horse. That's a pretty cool game. If you want to see what it's like to have a drunkard horse as a companion, and one that we figured out we can promote to a lieutenant. So he's like a ranking member of our party.
A higher ranking member than most everybody else.
Yeah, there's like 9 people on our party, and he's like the second highest ranking member.
We have a captain and a lieutenant that's a drunk horse.
A drunk horse. Yeah, so that's the silliest thing that game's got going on so far, but it's doable and it's a lot of fun. So come hang out. For those who followed us at twitch.tv/2 smoking controllers. And we also have a store and a Patreon page. Those are just what you think they are. The store has Devious.Pixel's art slapped onto TV shirts and other various objects in the store. We ordered what we thought was a small mouse pad for Blake to use for work, and it turned out being a desk-sized mouse pad.
Like a desk pad.
Desk pad. So Blake has a desk pad of, I think is it the Co-op Endeavors art?
It's
Co-op Endeavors art on a gigantic desk pad. So there's all that kind of cool stuff there. The Patreon, of course, is there to help us, keep the podcast. It just pays whatever. We'd like for it to eventually the number one thing. We always say this, but you can't promise anything. But we like eventually for the Patreon to let us, pay Brian for his time. We're editing. There's just no money made on Patreon right now for us because we're not famous. Because famous folks need more ways to make money.
Yep.
But on the Patreon, I think as of today, I'm not saying the date. Apparently it's faux pas to date your podcast. But as of today, I think the final episode of the unedited version of Blake's Terminator goes live right now, right?
You said Terminator, it's the other one.
Oh, not Terminator. You're right. It is RoboCop. They're not similar in any kind of way.
That's why video games that are Terminator versus RoboCop and stuff.
That's true. It wasn't Terminator. So RoboCop Rogue City, the final part of that playthrough is the unedited one. We're going to edit it and put it out on YouTube eventually. We're working on getting a little opening, little cool intro that uses the song put together to throw on the front of that. And Blake's going to do some minor editing. The kind of point of it is not to edit it too much, it's just kind of see naturally how Blake plays video games and or sleeps through them.
Yep.
He will be working on editing the parts out where he's asleep.
It happened once.
One time. It's going to happen in multiple video games, I'm sure. He's already kind of picked out what game he's going to do next, but we want to get this one rolling before he starts putting a new one. So, yeah, let's get this one out, starting to come out on YouTube before he starts playing a new game for that. So if you want to see how Blake plays games, I've debated a couple of things myself. I've been eyeballing Death Stranding Director's Cut because it came to Xbox, and I've been needing a reason to replay Death Stranding because it's one of my favorite games of all time. And it come to Xbox. It shadow dropped. I bought it immediately. I just don't know if I want to stream a 100 and something hour game. It would be shorter now because I know what I'm doing, but who knows? I've been thinking about it. I don't know if Blake wants to be all the videos on there, on the Patreon or on the YouTube. Also, we are mentioned the Twitch. I think the first thing went live was Blake's going to start pulling off our pulling off our Twitch streams and just posting them straight to our YouTube channel. So
starting with War Tales.
Hear us starting with War Tales. If you hear us talking about War Tales every couple episodes or anything like that, you're not good on our Twitch, our really loose Twitch schedule. You'll be able to go to YouTube and at least check out the video, leave a comment, whatever you want to do, follow us. I need to update our notes to include our YouTube channel now since it's about to start having gameplay and content on it. I've had the name forever. I just never used it for anything. So yeah, it'll probably be YouTube/Two Smoking Controllers. I don't know what it is. I didn't look at the name of what it was, but find that too and start checking out the what these games look like. We started just now with War Tales, and we'll post everything on there. Those will be coming out weekly as well as Blake figures out how to work YouTube. Yep. So, links to all this stuff. And this was a long preamble because I had multiple things to talk about. But links to all this stuff can be found in the show notes. Just scroll down and click the little links, follow or like or whatever the kids do these days to make you see our stuff in your scroll. Yeah, do that. All that mess said. We do all this mess so you can find us. So come find us. We like somebody to come find us and learn about a new game or something. Something cool. We'd love to do play games with a community events. If we ever had we have listeners. We say this every couple of episodes. Like, we got listeners, but nobody talks to us. So we don't. I guess we're not approachable. We're too mean and scary.
We're too awesome.
I don't know what that is, but approach us. But eventually, we'd like to do Twitch streams and gameplay online games with just not randoms, but listeners if they wanted to play something. We don't know, but that's always an option. Other than that, you can listen to the podcast and stay quiet, whatever you want to do. That said, we're going to tell you about another game you probably haven't heard of. I'll let Blake get into that. It's been, how long did you say it's been since we played it?
We played it, unlike some of the other games, we actually did play it this year. But it was all the way back in February. So it was like, what is that, 9 months ago?
Yeah.
Coming up on 9 months ago.
I want to have some gameplay playing. I mean, I have memories. I want to have some gameplay playing in front of me for this one. All right, let's get rolling.
All right, so I'm pretty sure we mentioned it last time, but the game we're talking about is called Metal Max Xeno, or Xeno, however you want to pronounce it, Xeno. It was originally released in Japan on Vita and PS4 in April 19th of 2018. And then later on that year, it got released in America and Europe. Now, this was essentially made and put out for the 25th anniversary of the Metal Max series. It launched during the 25th anniversary of the original.
Oh, there's more of these and more of these?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
There's quite a few of them. Now, they put out Metal Max Xeno, and then 4 years later, what is that? July 10th of 22, it was released worldwide for the Reborn version.
Yeah.
And with the Reborn version it was like, they just augmented a couple of things, tweaked the ATB bar, tweaked some graphics, and
The version we probably would have we always try to play the best version of things, and we didn't know this existed.
yeah, because we must have added Metal Max Xeno to our GameFly list and just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
And we didn't do any research until we got the game, and I kept coming across something called, I'm like, what is Metal Max Xeno Reborn? It turns out it's the better version of the game. Even when you look at like reviews and stuff, people like Metal Max Xeno had like middling reviews, 50s and 60s, but then the Reborn had 60s and 70s and 75s. So everyone says that the Reborn version is the better version, which is upsetting.
Because I would have added this a long time ago on our GameFly, would you believe that GameFly has the Metal Max Xeno Reborn for PS4?
I could believe it. I could definitely believe it.
That's annoying.
But we didn't know.
Can we put it on the GameFly?
Nah, I mean, maybe. We'll see.
I want to do it again. It was a cool game. I wonder how different it is.
I think it might be different enough
to warrant touching again.
It might be.
I'll put it on the GameFly. We'll do an update if we happen to land. And of course, our GameFly is
very, very bottom.
Yeah, it's on the bottom right now. Man, that sucks. If only I had known. Anyway, we still played this game.
Oh yeah. Now, like I say, I'll get to. There's not a lot of differences, but I'll get to the differences when we actually talk about it. The game itself it's for the first time I've ever seen this. It has 3 developers, which I think is a little crazy. The smallest one is a company called 24 Frame, and they have been around. It says they've only worked on Metal Max games, and so far they've only worked on 4 Metal Max games that I could find, and that includes Reborn, a canceled sequel called Metal Max Wild West, and then there was a game that did come out, and it was like a top-down roguelike shooter called Metal Dogs, which comes into play with the Reborn because you get an additional character called Poochie, and he's a dog who has a gun strapped to his back, and he throws items, and he acts as like an unofficial 4th member of your party. So you have 4 members, but you can't actually control the dog. But in Metal Dogs, you're just a band of dogs roaming the wasteland, killing machines and stuff. But it's like a top-down twin-stick shooter, which seemed kind of cool. That's really all I could find on 24 Frames. They've been in business. They've been a company since October 5th of 2009, and they've helped develop 4 games. And their latest one being the Metal Dogs, which is, with the canceled sequel, the most recent version of a Metal Max game you can play. Metal Dogs. Now, the other company is called Cattle Call, and they've been in business since March 20th of 98. And again, they have they have mostly worked on the Metal Max series. They've worked on every Metal Max game that's come out. But they've done 24 games in total. And I went through their list, and besides all of the Metal Max, including the ports and remakes that they've done, a couple other games that kind of stood out were Ark the Lad, Twilight of Spirit, and Ark the Lad End of Darkness, which were like the most recent additions in that franchise.
Ark the Lad had to talk about a franchise that hadn't had a new game in a long time. No, we're not exactly Ark the Lad fans, but
yeah, but I think those were the last 2, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't did enough research on Ark the Lad, but I think I remember Twilight of Spirit being on the PS2. I think
maybe sounds right.
And then Into Darkness came after that, and then the last thing that they've put out was called Dungeon Encounters, and that was August 25th of 2021. And that was published and in collaboration with Square Enix, called Dungeon Encounters.
That's if the game's good, I feel bad for that generic name.
Yeah, me too. Well, this is where it gets kind of strange. Not strange, but just weird, because where'd it go? Because Cattle Call changed their name to Cattle Call because they were originally called Data East Corporation, and they were just a big gaming company, but they were like real big into like arcade games, and then like the game crash happened in the late 80s. So around, I don't know the exact date. Okay, it says right here from 76 to 2003, Data East Corporation released over 150 video game titles, including like arcades and home console. They just were putting out games. But it says that they were annually bringing in around 20 billion yen of sales. And that's just, I don't know how much a billion yen is, but that seems like a lot.
Hard to tell when we play Yakuza games and you're like, I'm a millionaire, but I don't know, it's a million yen.
But that was by 2003. The company filed for bankruptcy in 1998 being being 3.3 billion yen in debt. And so they closed their doors and then rebranded the majority, like the original core group, which is the people for Cattle Call, and they decided to let's just cut ties and focus on smaller things. And so like I think they're now back to 46 employees, and they're working on like RPGs and freelance work and stuff like that, primarily in the Metal Max series, but then like I said, Arc the Lad and so on and so forth. But they are working. And I think that's kind of like a sad story because they did go bankrupt because I guess they just got too excited. But then the game crash happened and they just never recovered. They just kept putting out stuff saying, oh, it'll fix itself. And it never did. And then it was too late. And then it did fix itself. And that's why they're back in business. It says they stopped working on arcade cabinets and all this other stuff. And we're just console video games, which is, I like to see that they get to come back. So that's always a nice, cool thing. And the third developer is a company we've talked about before. They're called Kato Kawa Games. The last time we spoke about them was on episode 18 with the God's War, Futures Past.
Oh, yeah.
That tactical one.
Are they a publisher?
Oh, they're the developer.
Oh, they're a developer.
Developer, publisher. Now, they are massive. They are a Japanese multimedia conglomerate. They own publishing companies, anime companies, video games, specifically mobile game app developers and stuff like that. They've been in business since November 10th, 1945. They have they've rebranded 3 separate times as they kept growing. First it was just Katakawa Shoten, and then they rebranded in 97. So from 45 to 97 they were Katakawa Shoten. But then in 97, they switched to Katakawa Duango. And then that was 97 to 2014.
Duango?
Duango.
It's like trying to say Durango, but you...
No, it's Dwango, Duango.
I know, but it sounds like you're trying to say Duango, but you got like a 2-year-old. Yeah. Duango.
But that's how it's pronounced, I hope. And then from 97 to 2014, they were Katakawa Duango. And then for whatever reason in 2014, they just decided to go Katakawa Duango Corporation. They just added corporation. I guess they started doing much more stuff. And so as of today, 2014 to present, they are the Katakawa Duango Corporation.
Duango.
And like I said, they're multimedia. They own all sorts of stuff. I don't know Japanese publishing companies, and I don't know, but I did come across 3 gaming studios that they either flat out own or have a large stake in. The first being Media Factory, which is something we've definitely played games with. I don't know if we've spoken about them on the podcast itself, but Media Factory, not to be confused with Media Vision, which is like the Wild Arms people, but this is Media Factory. And then another one that they flat out own that. They flat out own Spike Chunsoft, which I know we've spoken about at least once before a lot
of anime games.
The Danganronpa. I know we spoke about that once on like one of the early episodes.
Yeah, I tried to like Danganronpa. Now
this one caught me off guard, but they own a 69.66% stake in this company. And it's From Software.
I've never seen this name attached to any From Software game.
But they own From Software. They don't necessarily have to, but they own From Software. Well, they own majority of...
They get that Elden Ring money.
Yeah, they is. So Katakawa is based out of Tokyo, Japan. And they have 5,349 employees as of 2024. Golly. And they are worth average, according to like the revenue streams, it's like they bring in, again, I don't know what the yen is to the dollar, but they bring in 8.8 billion yen a year.
It's wacky.
Yeah. But like I said, they have all these different conglomerates, publishing companies and whatnots. That being said, they have had in the last couple of years, and it's recently, they've had a relatively spotless record. But then within the late 2020s, they've actually started getting some guff, a little bit of shade. In September of 22, one of their chairman of the board or whatever, was forced to retire because he was arrested for bribing the Tokyo Paralympics in 2020. What? He was bribing officials in the Tokyo Paralympic Games, and he was apparently found bribed. He denied the allegations when they were brought to him in October 4th of 22, but later that same day he retired from the company and then was arrested later that day. But he's like, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm going to retire and then get arrested later that week. But yeah.
That's so random.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what it means, but it says it was a total bribery of at least, it says an adjusted amount of, no. It says it was $76 million, but they had to adjust it down to 69 million yen. My bad, not dollars, but yen, because the other half, whatever 76 minus 69, was part of the statute of limitations. They couldn't charge him on that because the bribes were too old. But yeah, so that's only 2020. That's a very recent thing. And then this is even more recent. In 2024, June 8th, a hacker group called Black Suit launched a ransomware attack on Kadokawa and a lot of their subsidiaries. And it just it says that that was on June 8th, and then on June 27th, they published a statement saying that they were responsible for the attack, and they were threatening to release 1.5 terabytes of stolen data, including business partner information, user data, history searches, this, that, and the other, unless a ransom was paid. No data was released, so they assumed that a ransom was paid, but the company has made no comment on it. So something happened and they didn't want something getting out. But that's a little bit, again, very recent. Like, they've had a relatively spotless record until 2020 when that dude got caught.
Well, I wouldn't say they were spotless. I would say nobody knew about it.
Yeah, no one knew about it.
I don't mean your record's spotless.
Yeah.
I mean you haven't been caught yet.
But I just thought that was kind of crazy. But the dude got arrested for bribing officials during the Tokyo Paralympics. Not the Olympics, but the Paralympics, which is just a strange thing to be a part of. But yeah, that's Kadokawa Games. And yeah, that's quite a fun history lesson on the people who are responsible for this pretty cool game. It is published in Japan by Kadokawa Games, but in North America and Europe, it is published by NIS America. They're pretty good.
Yeah, common for anime games.
Mm-hmm. I could not find an engine, like an in-game engine. I couldn't find it online anywhere. Even like the Wikipedia and stuff, it doesn't mention an engine, which I think is kind of strange.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah. Let's see here. Now, I'll speak about two people. The director of the game is a gentleman named Hiroshi Miyaoka, and he's been a part of the Metal Max and Metal Saga games. He's worked on every single one of them. But as far as directing, this is he only directed this one and the another game called Metal Saga. There's like some weird copyright thing early on that they I guess they were arguing over who controlled what. So Metal Max and Metal Saga split into two separate franchises, and Metal Max was more popular. I think Metal Saga only had like 2 games, but Metal Max has had a couple, like 6. And he's been a part of like working on all of them, but this is the only one he's directed. Now, as I was going through his credit history, I did find a strange, kind of cool thing. But there was an old RPG on the PlayStation 2 era called Alundra. And this in particular is Alundra 2, the beginning of a new legend. And he wrote that. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, looking at those the other day. I was trying to mod we have a PlayStation Classic, trying to mod some games onto that, and that was Alundra was on the 1 and 2 were on that list. Games I wanted to put on there.
And then the composer, which is a person named Satoshi Kadakura, not Kadokawa, Kadakura. They're a different person, different name, and they've done the music for all Metal Max and all Metal Saga games. And then 3 other kind of interesting, cool things was there's some anime they're responsible for called Washi Haru Wataru and then Spirit Hero Wataru. Each anime has about 45 episodes. One from 88 to 89. The other one was 90 to 91. He did the music for all the, 190 episodes? Or 100, 90-something episodes. And then in 1991, there's a big movie, Mobile Suit Gundam F91, and he composed the score and stuff for that movie. I think it's always cool to have a Mobile Suit Gundam in your back pocket. I did this and stuff like that. So he's and only problem is I don't remember much of the music in this.
Yeah, but it would hard to remember something from that long ago anyway.
But yeah, so. And they did okay when it comes to sales. I couldn't find enough on like Reborn and stuff like that. But I don't think there's anything to laugh at necessarily. But I also don't know how much money it costs to make the game. But it says for the Metal Max Xeno, in the first 2 days, it sold 50,000 copies. That's not awful.
Well, that's enough to keep that developer in business.
Yeah, I know. But they sold 50,000 copies, and then must not have did well enough because they did cancel the sequel, which was Metal Max Xeno Wild West, and it was supposed to come out in 22, but they canceled it.
They did Reborn instead.
Yeah, which is strange. Or maybe based off Reborn sales, they were going to continue with Wild West. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but they did cancel it in 2022. But then that other company, like I said, the 24 Frame and 21 put out Metal Dogs. So maybe we'll play. It's available on PS4 and Switch. Maybe it's something we can look into and give it a
Metal
whirl.
Dogs.
Now, I've spoken a bunch about this. Do you have anything you want to add, Drew? Do you want to say you can take over, like talking about what the game actually is and stuff?
Have you looked at Metal Dogs?
Briefly, it doesn't look great. It's like a top-down. It looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter.
Yeah, probably. But the art for it, they like this little box art for it is. See, a lot of people went quick on this because the gameplay maybe ain't that good. Top-down 3D roguelike. But it's a dog wearing a vest, and attached to the back of the vest is a machine gun. It looks awesome.
That's Poochie. That's the dog you get in Reborn.
Yeah, and there's a bulldog with a rocket launcher, and then like a
It looks like there's DLC for other dogs, like one of the ones with like a Chihuahua.
So that one runs on Unity. So I bet the main game runs on Unity. By the way, I'm interested in that if it has co-op, Switch and PS4.
We'll look into it.
What do you want me to say? Talk about the game?
Yeah, you say.
Yeah.
So I've spoken about all this other stuff. You can.
So this is a three-dimensional, obviously pretty half decent looking JRPG. There's not a lot to say about art necessarily for anime looking games. They look like anime. The character people do. The tank, like you have on foot and tank combat. The game's like 85% tank combat.
Yeah,
probably mostly tanks. You do go inside dungeons
that are.
I don't know if they call them dungeons.
They're ruins.
Ruins, and you're on foot. And you run those. Those can be a little tedious. The on-foot combat's not that bad, but the running through a place is really kind of boring. But we'll come back to that. But the tank stuff, I'm sure there's wackier stuff. There is like later they get wackier stuff, but you're by default you have like pretty regular looking tank. There are some crazier tanks and stuff like that that look really anime looking tanks, but it looks fine too. The world you're in is post-apocalyptic, so there's nothing to really gawk at there besides just lots of desert and lots of ruins. You are able to move around in the tank. You don't want to get into like on-foot combat with things that should be fought with a tank because you just get killed immediately. So you're only supposed to do like you can get out of your tank crazily enough whenever you want, but you can get murdered immediately. You're only supposed to do on-foot combat when you're in the ruins. But you do get to explore the map in the tank, and you can shoot enemies pre-combat, which sounds not really too strange, but you actually shoot and kill things pre-combat, but you do have bullets, like limited ammo, which I don't think is that much of a problem throughout a lot of the game.
No.
You end up having so many different guns anyway, and you kind of tend to pick your main weapon that has a lot of ammo.
Well, that, and you can you can fast travel the base, and usually other areas fairly. You can fast travel from the get-go. So as long as you discovered it, you can fast travel.
Yeah, fast travel points.
And just return to base to refill ammo. And you get items that you can use to refill your ammo while you're out and about.
I don't remember it really being a problem, especially when you had multiple characters and stuff like that. If you don't kill something immediately outside of combat, you do enter into turn-based combat with the tank, which is kind of cool. I don't know. What do you want to say about the combat? Because there's a lot of the game's mostly combat, driving around in tanks and combat. There's not nothing too it's not like we've played turn-based games. You play different variants turn-based. Everybody's like you just sit there and just hit a button and you attack. There's varying degrees of turn-based games where strategy is necessary and stuff like that.
I think this one is the right amount.
It's mostly straightforward turn-based unless you're fighting a boss of some sort. Then you might have to strategize. There's not a whole lot of strategy to this. We'll talk about the last boss here at the end when we get to that. But like when it comes to, I remember having to change what I was doing for every now and then. These for the what were the big hunts were called?
Yeah, the bounties or
bounties. There you go. There's these special machines or things driving around. I wish there was more to those. So some of them are really silly, some are really cool. They're kind of just wandering around like super enemies. Kind of wish it was more of an explanation. There might be some more in the rating or something like what those things are, or they seem like they were alive too, which is kind of strange because they didn't have pilots. They're like just living tanks and helicopters and stuff that just run around trying to kill you. But I mean, What do you think about we can get sort of combat kind of knocked out.
Because so the combat, like you said, it's turn-based.
We love turn-based combat.
I love turn-based combat.
Yeah.
So you have a roster of, I believe...
3? Is it 3 tanks?
I was going to handle the human combat real quick and then do the character. But you have a roster of 6 characters that you can recruit throughout the game. And in Reborn version, you get an extra character, Poochie, who stays with the main character. So he's a 4th character that you don't have any control over. Mm-hmm. But he'll shoot, he'll throw items and stuff like that. He's AI controlled. He'll do what it thinks is best in the situation. Mm-hmm. But besides Poochie, you have 3 characters. Each one has a class. You have Hunter, Mechanic, Survivor, Soldier, Gangster, and Medic. And each has a specific thing they focus on, whether it be stats effects, AoE, damage, recovery. Basically they kind of, obviously their titles stand out in the crowd. Like Hunters are more likely to get critical hits, Soldiers do damage, with more, and depending on what class they are, that also means that character would do more damage with a particular weapon. Like some people do better damage with cannons, some people do better with rockets and machine guns and so on and so forth. Now, your tank is fairly fully customizable. You have there's
colors and weapons and everything. Yeah.
I think there's about 12 different tanks you can get in the game. You can keep some in storage, or you can find some out and about and you fix them. But you can have 3 active in your garage at any time. Mm-hmm. And you can upgrade them, obviously, make them bigger, increase the amount of slots they have. And sometimes you get one engine, sometimes you get things that have a dual engine, and then you can make separate engines. But if you make like 2 dual engines, and you get a bonus for having the same engine, which makes your tank move faster in combat, and has more health and stuff, but also makes it heavier, so it makes it slower in combat. Like it's kind of like a give and take situation with the engine. And same thing with, I don't think there were treads. I think that I'm thinking of like Armored Core, where you have treads, but you do have different leggings and stuff you could equip. And I think some of them did come with abilities, because most of the time it's treads. It's either tread, wheels, and then at one point you got this really cool spider leg tank.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever really used that one though.
No, but I don't think they have really any indication on it other than it looks cosmetic. But then when it comes to the weapons, your weapon types are cannon, machine gun, and special. And special includes rocket launchers, missile launchers, sonars, which let you basically, like Libra, like you get all the information on an enemy. You can find out its weakness and stuff. And then everything has all the elements. I think there was like 6. There was
I don't remember all that. I mean, I know they mattered when you're shooting things. Like things that had, obviously like RPG things had clear weaknesses.
But you had like the base things. You had like fire, ice, lightning, and then there was sound, laser, and something else.
Mm-hmm. And you can have multiple, depending on your tank, you can have multiple ones equipped.
Yeah. Now, like Drew mentioned earlier, there is limited ammo for your cannon and special armaments like rocket launchers, sonar, and stuff like that. Very rarely will like the special. There's no cannon in the game that has unlimited ammo. There are some special units. There's like a drill attachment, or there's one that was like a Joker giant punching glove that would punch, shoot out and come back. So some of the special ones had a chance to have like unlimited ammo, but the machine guns had, no matter what, were unlimited ammo. They were just unlimited ammo, and you could equip abilities like, let me have this skill that lets me fire all my cannons at once, or let me fire all my special weapons at once, or some of your skills are just like, I get to, but they were you had to, what do you call them? They're like microchips that you plugged into your tank. Now, the game breaking one that me and Drew discovered, I don't know, probably a third of the way into the game. Like I discovered it kind of early, and I was like, dude, I think this is really cool, because I was tired of getting my butt kicked, because it was kind of difficult, because I never knew if I wanted to have all 3 people inside one tank and each of them operating a specific thing, or you can have each person operate their own tank, and have people specialize and stuff. I ended up coming across this really amazing skill. It's 2 parts. It's called the Vulcan Rush, or the Vulcan Storm. And what that does is it fires all of your machine guns on a single character's turn all at once. And so depending on how you have your particular tank built, that could be 1 machine gun, or it could be 6 machine guns. And if you got 6 machine guns firing each one one of every element,
Yeah.
hitting the thing.
It's pretty cool.
It's game breaking. Like I was like, once I realized that, I just made that my tank, upgraded it to the best of my ability, put all 3 members in that tank, so every single turn each character was firing 6 machine guns with all elements at a single enemy.
Yeah.
And and there were some machine guns.
It took a while to set that up, though.
It took a long while. And there are some machine guns that spread, that do all enemy hitting. Not all of them, but depending on what gun you have, it's like, ooh, deal less damage but hit all enemies. I'm like, well, I kind of want to hit all enemies. I want these fights to be done sooner. But with the Vulcan Rush and the Vulcan Storm, it was game breaking. And I played. I spent about 29 hours in the game, and I got 63% of the trophies. This is one of those games where, like, I loved everything about it. I had a really fun time. I was kind of getting slightly, tired of it. And then I think me and Drew both, neither one of us could beat the final boss.
Yeah.
Like, I struggled on some of these hunts, and I managed to beat some of them. I was like, okay, I think I got a good strategy down. And then I went and tried to fight the final boss, and
expecting to just kind of roll through it.
Because I was kind of rolling through it with my strategy with firing all the machine guns at once and stuff.
It's annoying because that works through 99% of the game.
Yeah, it was a majority of the game.
That works for so long.
It works so well.
It even works against most of the wanteds, most of the bounties.
Like the first quarter, probably the first like 8 to 10. But then I got to, and then I was like, this isn't working. Why is this not working? So I like read all these strategies, and they're like, oh, well, you need to have this tank be all machine guns, this tank be all special, this tank be all this. And then you get this special, they're called, it's Neph Tech for Nephilim Tech. And there are special ones. Those deal massive amounts of damage. They have very limited ammo, but they have double the power of any of their counterparts. Like there's a Nephilim engine, cannon, rocket launcher, and machine gun. They do massive amounts of damage. So like the game, like all the strategies, like, oh yeah, have this character do this character do that, do this. And then like I tried that, and I fought the final boss for like 20 minutes, maybe 30. It was for a while, and then it kept breaking my tanks. I had people throwing healing items and trying to restore tank parts. But once a tank part is broken, one of your weapons, once it's broken, you can't fix it until combat is over and you warp back to base. And then once all your tanks are destroyed, then you're on foot, and you do not stand
then he starts murdering your people.
Yeah, you do not stand a chance on foot against the final boss. Is called Catastrophosaurus.
Yeah, cool name.
Cool name. But I just and then I like read strategies, and they're like, oh yeah, you gotta maybe like the number one suggestion, people were like, oh, you just grind, max out your level. And I was like, man, I've already played 30 hours. I don't want to spend another 20 hours, because I had all the equipment. I just had to upgrade my characters, and I just washed my hands of it. Like I liked it too much to want to stay in the memory of like being furious, annoyed. Yeah, I wanted to go out on good terms with the game.
I don't want to fear too much into it, because we might do another episode decades from now. I'm watching Metal Max Xeno Reborn, and it looks like completely different. Like they like. It's a borderline remake of that.
There's
game.
A graphical overhaul and
lots of stuff. I don't want to dig too deep into it, but I'm watching that. I'm watching that. I need to be watching the original game, but this looks completely different. One thing that's annoying that I don't like about it is when you fight something outside of, I think in the regulars, when you fight something outside of combat, you just select it. He shoots. Mm-hmm. When you select shoot now outside of combat, you have to. It's not too hard, but you actually have to manually aim the tank at the enemy, which is kind of like I don't. Why would you go backwards on that? But anyway, it's a whole different thing.
It says right here, I'm looking right here, the remake of the game has enhanced visuals, an ATB system, and it has altered vehicle physics, and as well as the additional character of Poochie.
Yeah, I read something that we're going to talk about here in a minute, but this apparently somebody I was scrolling when I put it on our GameFly, and all the reviews are lower, but like it's everybody complaining. One main guy complaining is that it removes it. He calls it "quote unquote" censoring. It removes all the sexuality from the game, and I was like, "Good." We'll talk about that here in a minute. This game is like let's get into the characters. We can talk about that. Like to me that's a good thing. Because it's so anime and it's over sexualized in this stuff, and it takes away from like the rest of the world of this game. We can get into it. Like you play as the main character. I don't remember if he talks or not, but you play as a guy named Talus.
He speaks.
He speaks. Okay, I don't remember.
But the game is voice acted, but it's in Japanese.
Was it all Japanese? I don't even remember.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it was fully voiced, but the parts that were voiced were Japanese.
Yeah, so he's your main guy, pretty much all around good at everything kind of dude. Then I have Yoki joins up eventually. I didn't care for this character. He's the mechanic kid.
Oh yeah, he's just
he's irritating. I don't remember. I wrote in my notes I don't care for this character.
Well, he's like when we first meet him, he's just an alcoholic, and he's just like, oh, the world. He's just a doomsayer. Alcoholic and everyone, but he's really good at his job whenever he fixes things, and he's just some young kid. And then like he fell in love with a girl. She said no thank you, and then she ran away. So she didn't want to be with him so much she ran away, and that ends up being the third character you actually recruit, which is Tony.
Well, I think you go after you. I guess you meet Yoki in the desert. I'm guessing, or maybe he's on the Iron Base.
He's on the
Iron Base is the main base. There you've got Palm, which is like the working Poem. She's just like the working android for the base. Jingaro, which is basically he's like the guy who maintains your tanks, and I can't say that last name.
D'Anzio.
He just runs the bar, doesn't he? Like he's
the
shop too. That's the human shop, I guess.
Well,
she's the human shop.
A little bit of like
I don't want to deal too deep into these characters because there's not a whole lot
to
them.
Just kind of like the plot of the game, just a little bit, so people know what's going on. Is you were in Dystopia, a supercomputer called Noah attempted to wipe out human civilization with something called the Great Annihilation, and it was just tired of dealing with people, and it was like people are horrible, so it developed these things called sons, which the acronym is literally just spawn of Noah, sons. And they're these like, basically it's kind of like, I don't want to give it too much credit, but it's very similar to like Event Horizon, where this AI started making machines, and the machines aren't being efficient enough. Let's incorporate like biological components to make them better. Because a lot of the enemies you fight are like robotic animals.
Yeah, you can't really tell. They're robotic animals, but they're not like metal and flesh. You can't really tell that by the graphics.
Yeah, they're not like hyper, like not nowhere near like it was in Horizon Zero Dawn, but they are like that. They're, probably one of my favorites is one of the bounty hunter things you fight. I just love some of the names they gave it, but the bounty you fight is called Warshiposaurus, and it's this giant Brachiosaurus that's also like a battleship destroyer. What do you call it? The destroyer battleship. It's got all these like artillery cannons and stuff. It kind of looks like the Brachiozord from Power Rangers. And it just like, that was pretty cool. And then there's like some other really cool ones. And then you fight some actual, I think there's a boss that was like a dog-faced helicopter. And it was like some of the, and you fought like some seagulls and birds, and then there was the hippos were a big one. And then you fought some like weird sludge monsters, just like these like remnant biomechanical things. But basically, mankind's horrible. Machines realize that, and they're like, if we wipe you out, the world will be a better place. And so that's what it tried to do. I say all that because D'Angelo, or Dionisio, he was the manager for for Iron Base, which was like, there's a couple of them all throughout the world. It's like the last bastion of human civilization. And then y'all were attacked. And from, I think what he talks about, he's like, we had over like 150 people that lived in Iron Base, and now there's 8 of us, including the people that you recruit throughout the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty dour, like you're on the verge of human extinction.
Yeah.
But then that's where you get like,
I wrote, the story is just a post-apocalyptic story. All the conversations are just about having sex. It gets annoying. Talus is out for revenge for his town getting destroyed and his mom killed, and he is turning into metal, and it's only referenced in one talk scene.
Yeah, in order to save his life, someone jammed him full of nanites, but the nanites were experimental, and so like they're slowly converting his body into like this cybernetic monstrosity, which does allow him to go up and just punch monsters and stuff sometimes in his hand-to-hand person combat. But yeah, he is slowly being starting with his left arm and slowly working its way over his entire body.
I guess it's never really, I guess it's never really referenced again, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because like because at the base it's all dudes. It's
one girl. Well, there's another girl eventually.
Yeah.
So I guess you're talking about Tony, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if does she even do combat? I don't even remember if she does combat.
She can do combat.
But I said, pointless, terrible character. She just exists to get sexually harassed and to randomly fall in love with Talus for no reason.
Yeah. Because he saved her, technically. She was, like, bound up in, like, a mechanical spider web. Yeah. Was when you find her. And
I guess across the very few conversations you have with her, she's suddenly in love with Talus, which happens a lot in anime and stuff like that.
But that's what the scene you're talking about. He's like, I can't love you, I'm a robot. And he rips his clothes off, and you see that he's literally, like, more than, like, 60% cybernetic.
Yeah. So I got Masaki, typical dude that looks like a girl in anime. I never use this character. They're a medic.
Yeah. Likewise.
Reading my little notes that I
didn't use them either.
Dylan, which is your loud, punky, cocky punk.
Dylan's cool because he was actually a bandit who tried to attack Iron Base. Yeah. You beat him up and kill all of his people, and then you find him later, and he's just depressed. Yeah. And I think he's actually about to kill himself. And then you save him. He's like, I wasn't about to do what you think I was about to do. And he just becomes this like hyper cocky. His class is literally called gangster.
Yeah.
And he's powerful. I used
him and the next girl, Maria, which I forget. Like, if the other girl's the last girl, I'm not really sure why there's another girl, but she's like just like a straight up soldier. Mm-hmm. I wrote Dylan and Maria were in my main team for the rest of the game, mostly because Blake just Googled what the best team was.
Yeah, and they are, because she has the best like attack skills. Mm-hmm. Your hunter, your main character Talus, has some of the better skills. Plus, he has like stuff that's specifically to him. His robot arm punch has a chance to anything that's mechanical, which is 98% of the enemies you fight has a 100% chance of stunning them for like 2 turns, like 1 turn and then 2 and 3, depending on how powerful you use. And then the reason the gangster stuff, because one of his main skills was like throwing Molotovs, and so catching enemies on fire. But because he's good at throwing items, his stuff was like boosting thrown item effects and stuff. So and sometimes it would let you, or like doubled up. It's like if you throw 1 Molotov, it'll double up in 2 or something like that. Like, so he was really good at throwing the items.
I remember him being more like the only character that wasn't terribly annoying. Like he's more just kind of a fun kind of the cocky punk kid, which can be fun in a game filled with perverts and everything else. Oh, yeah. So he's like this. He just doesn't care about.
Well, the funny thing is, the only major pervert was Yoki. Yeah. Because the old guy, you mentioned him, he's like the mechanic Jingaro. He's old, and they bring it up. He's like, I can't do anything. I'm too old. My stuff don't work. I don't care. I'm not trying to repopulate the world. D'Annunzio is like, I'm gay. I have no interest in this girl, Tony. I'm gay.
So maybe it's not a game full of pervert. Maybe that one guy harasses so much that it makes it feel like the whole game's full of pervert.
Well, he's like that, and then the Dylan is like that. He's like, ooh, hey, girl. Like, he hits on her, but she's like, no, thank you. And he's like, oh, whatever. But then like Maria comes in, and she's like a woman as opposed to a girl. He's like, I want me a woman. And Maria is like, she's just open with her sexuality. And they're like, ooh, now we have 2 women. Let's repopulate the world. And Maria's like, I actually can't have kids. We can have fun all day long, but I can't have kids. And so everyone starts looking at Tony again, and she's like, no, thank you.
So apparently all that kind of stuff, I'd like to see the different, all that stuff, all the sexual stuff and all that myth. I call it harassing, because a lot of the stuff with Tony is harassment. Like, it's weird.
Down blatant.
But probably a lot of that stuff is removed and reborn and cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm fine with that, because because like it didn't make it, because like they make a point of like all these people like finding a way to, because it's just that one dude who Yoki, because even your main character, like when she like expresses, like she's like, I'm in love with you, and he's like, I'm a robot, it doesn't work, it's not there, I'm kin, they kindled me. I'm a robot, I can't do it. And so it's literally just that guy, because he's so obsessed with her, and then she rejects him, and then he's an alcoholic, but then she leaves. You find her again. He's like, oh, she's back. The girl that I love has come back to me. And then he expresses her feelings for her. And she's like, no, I still don't love you, even when you saved me. And I'm glad they took that out, because that part was obnoxious.
I'm kind of curious to see how they did that. There is one more other character that I barely remember. You get her much later.
Yeah.
Itian, quote unquote, the cute anime girl with a tail.
Yeah.
I never
Ittica, Ithaca.
Yeah, I never used her because I just don't need. We keep saying typical anime stuff because me and Blake watch very little anime
now.
Yeah, we watch a little less. Like we just, I don't have the patience for anime tropes. So ignore us if you like anime. If you like this stuff sounds good to you. have at it. You'll enjoy the game more. I got no. I'm too old. I have no.
She's your mutant. She's a cat girl, and she can shapeshift, and so she plays pranks on people. Well, she'll shapeshift into one of the other girls and one of the boys, and just put herself in a provocative situation. She's like, she's just a prankster cat girl.
Yeah.
What do you call it? A Sundara? She's just.
Oh, hell if I know.
Anyway, but yeah, you have a lively roster of characters, but I didn't care for some of them, for most of them, frankly.
Yeah. I think I only like Dylan. Is that his name, Dylan?
Yeah, Dylan. Maria was fine. She was cool. Well, one kind of messed up thing with Maria is because you find her way out by herself. She was one of the last surviving soldiers. Hold on, let me pull my thing up because my notes didn't stay open like they were supposed to. Because when you find her, she's way out in the middle of nowhere in this thing called the Libro Dome, and it was like the last fight for the military or whatever. And when you go in there, she's by herself. She's a little off her rocker, just a little bit, because she's not used to talking to people.
Isn't that library?
Yeah, the library.
Yeah, I pulled that out of nowhere in my head.
Yeah. And then once you because you fight a boss, that's one of the few things that was kind of difficult because it was a boss, but you had to fight the boss on foot. Mm-hmm. Remember, you had to weasel your way through the library, and then it was in the back. Mm-hmm. But before you do that, part of exploring the surrounding area is you go down, and there's a vending machines where you can buy cigarettes and crap, and
you got healing items, don't you?
Yeah, stuff like that. But as you're walking through, you find because she was afraid to go out by herself, mm-hmm. you find these funeral barrels that have they have a little placard of this is Sergeant so and so, he did this, he died this day saving me, and this person died on this day saving me. And part of her thing is all these people died saving her, and in a different way, shape, or form. And so, but she couldn't bury them because she didn't want to go outside, mm-hmm. and so she just burnt them alive in a barrel. So they had these little these 5 or 6 funeral barrels, and she had one that had her name on it. She's like, I'll just go in there when I'm tired of living. Mm. And you're like, oh crap, that's kind of dark. I've never heard of a funeral barrel, but you got to do what you got to do in the end of the world. But like I said, the story, like you said, it's just your typical post-apocalyptic world.
The unique thing about the game is
the combat.
Is the having tanks. It's
the having tank, and I genuinely really enjoyed the tank combat, and I liked the customizing and stuff.
Adding more and more guns and stuff like that. It's normal at first, but then and it's cool because you can change your color or something too. But it's but the weapons, when you change the weapons on the tanks, it changes.
It's all a visual thing.
The guns look different. The different types of weapons look different. They're all just it starts attaching them to your tank and stuff like that. I did spend with Taoist most of the time using the regular. I think there's a regular looking tank, and you get
his tank. It's called the Red Wolf or something. All these tanks have
names.
Well, good news is you can name them yourself.
Yeah, I think I left default names and just changed the colors.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever using any of the wackier. There's some wackadoo kind of, not really wackadoo.
There's the buggy that only has 2 machine guns, but it's hyper fast.
Something like that. Yeah.
Then there's something called the Little Squirt, and it's got just 1 cannon slot, but it can be any size cannon. Yeah. So you can have a cannon that's literally 3 times the size of your little tank.
And then there's bigger ones that are really slow, but they can have more guns.
Yeah, well, they can have
some have unique. Some slots have special weapons on them. There's special weapons too,
specifically to that tank's chassis. I think is the term chassis. But I ended up using because you get the Red Wolf. Then you get the buggy, and then another one, and I think I ended up getting the 4th tank I used is the one that I discovered is the one you use the majority of the game because you can upgrade it to having, I think, 6 machine gun slots, and you're just
you're set. And you can upgrade the engines too to get the more power. You need power determines how much stuff you can equip. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what determines your shield. Your tanks have shields.
I think you're part of your engine. Your engine controls majority of stuff.
Yeah, see, the better tanks can have bigger, better engines.
And the fact you can upgrade your chassis to have more armor and stuff like that.
It's pretty cool. It's actually legit pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed everything.
We played for the gameplay. It was a lot of play for the gameplay. This is kind of cool. Like I said, the world is kind of bland. I saw on the on-foot dungeons, they're literally all the same, just different sizes. I think it reuses the same palette. I'm kind of curious if Reborn would have done more with the on-foot dungeons because they all look identical. If you remember the on-foot dungeons, they just shuffle around the rooms.
Yeah, it was just
quite identical.
It was just these.
Sometimes you're walking, they need a sprint. They added a sprint button to Reborn. Oof. A little note that because it's seemingly less common in modern RPGs and stuff like that. But the treasure chests you find in this game actually have good stuff in them.
Yeah, it wasn't just cosmetic nonsense.
Not just cosmetic. Sometimes in games now, a lot of modern games, you'll find something. Most of the time, you find crap you don't need. You legit in this game, you'll find treasure chests inside the dungeons and on the outside part, you'll find something that's actually a new sword or a new gun that you actually want to use, and not this some junk that you've bought a better thing.
Yeah.
I miss the days where you find a chest, you're like, oh sweet. I'm glad I got that chest. I'm glad I walked all the way over here and got this chest. It's so rare now.
Yeah, I'm glad I decided to walk to this dead end on my map because I am rewarded with the chest and not just like a dumb collectible.
It actually has a gun or a bat or something crazy in it that I actually want to equip to my freaking character.
Because your people got like 3 weapon slots. They had a sidearm, a main arm, and then a melee weapon. Mm-hmm. And
something like that.
The thing is,
but they all had 3 weapons equipped, and you can change them. I don't remember if there's skills tied to specific weapons, but I made sure
some of them did better. Shotgun damage did better.
I made sure everybody had different stuff, so we're prepared for the different kinds. Because all the regular enemies too had different elemental weaknesses and stuff.
I remember farming one of these things, one of these fish-looking bros. The only other thing I can describe. I'm not sure. It looks like Divermon from Digimon. It was like a humanoid fish with these big, like lips, and it had like a scuba tank on it. But I'm like, you're a fish, but I guess that's water, so you can be in the desert. But it had these really awesome, like all hitting shot, like rifle or something. I remember farming it to make sure everyone got that weapon.
That's cool.
I'm pretty sure I told you. I farm here, and then there's another thing where you had to fight these ants, and if you could fight them by yourself, but like while running around, but it was also an area where you could take your tank through this underpass, and then you had to get out of your tank to go in like these side areas, and you would still every now and again get into a fight. But the ants had like really awesome experiences. Every now and again you fight like a silver ant, it's always a silver something or a gold something that has really awesome experience or money. I remember farming there for a while to get some good upgrades and stuff. I genuinely enjoyed the combat, especially when I found a way to cheese it with the machine gun and using Vulcan Rush and Vulcan Storm.
This stuff's in there.
Oh, it's in there.
Wait, what else do they expect you to do with those skills?
Because, like I said, with the Vulcan Rush, there's other ones that let you fire all your cannons at once and fire.
Well, the difference though
is those have.
That's the difference. The cannon stuff is probably really cool, but when it comes to general, you do mostly running around. There's not that many big boss fights really, so the general running around, you want the Vulcan because it's we didn't mention all the machine guns are infinite.
Oh yeah,
they're lower damage, but they're infinite, which makes a big difference for regular because they kill everything in regular combat. So but there's a different name for it, but there's a cannon rush. It might just be called cannon rush.
There's a cannon rush, and then there's a thing for special.
But you also don't have, depending on some of the there's only like certain tanks that can have like multiple freaking cannons. Yeah. So some do. There's I think there's like one of the tanks that specifically has like cannon slots,
like
and
three or four cannons. Yeah, because each chassis has a limited number. And there's a lot of customization and play style, whatever you think plays. And what I did a lot of times was I played through, because like I said, you can fast travel, and the fast travel works really well, and you're usually pretty close, and you can, like I said, fast travel. And if an enemy appears on the screen, like I said, you can surprise attack it with the machine guns and win the fight. Or if it appears on screen, you can just drive further away from it and not engage in combat. So you can
most of the wannage you can avoid that way, because you got to avoid those Brachiosaurus things for a while.
The Warshiposauruses.
You got to avoid them for a bit.
But what I would do is I tried every fight the first time using the machine gun strategy. I'm like, let me try it. I'm already here. Let me try it. And if it didn't work, I would always, because you can see them, because you can usually see them coming from a mile away. Because if you don't see the enemy itself, it's usually where you're going to go. Like there's a building or like there's a big thing. And I had to, I would always try. And if it didn't work, I'd just reload my game. Actually, even when you die, there was no... Actually, I think I figured out there was no drawback for dying. It just spawns you back at Iron Base. You had to spend money to repair your tank or whatever.
Something. Yeah, I don't know if you had to do that. No, because you healed for going back to base.
Yeah, so I don't think you had to do that. So yeah, I don't think there was any drawback. So I would just appear back at base, and I was like, all right, since I'm not going to explore, I don't have to worry about my limited ammo. Let me just get my big boy guns, get all my cannons. I would just max out my attack power with like my 2 best cannons, my 2 best machine guns, and my 2 best special weapons, and I just go lay waste to them. Because then your main character had a special skill that was it was like snipe. It's like take a turn to aim. your whatever weapon it was, and your next hit was guaranteed double damage.
Or critical, or was it double or critical?
I think depending on how you had your critical stat, it might be more, but yeah, they had stuff like that, and then you had like some personal skills, and then you had one that was fire a weapon twice. And so what's really cool is if you tag, because you can tag fire weapon twice. You could tag that ability, and then you could whatever you link it to. You could be like fire ability twice, Vulcan Rush. And then you would fire all your 6 machine guns twice and stuff like that. But that was like way late game getting that ability to let you use a thing twice in a row. But yeah, the combat is awesome.
What about, we didn't mention it's not all machine guns and cannons.
I said those rocket launchers and missiles.
Those were specifically like you save those for certain things. Like they're not. I don't think they were all as useful. It was just like if you weren't exactly prepared to fight something, maybe you had a rocket launcher that did a little bit more damage.
They also did that certain thing. Like I said, everything had an elemental weakness, and then everything had a type weakness. Whether it was special, Oh well, you also had lasers. Like I said, you had the laser thing. So you had laser, special, cannon, and machine gun, and then all the elements and different weaknesses based off the type and the element. And then very rarely, because I remember struggling with this particular fight for a long time, and I had to go grind some parts out, there's you probably remember it, there's that giant broken archway, and then when you go through the archway, it's right as you meet the medic dude. And it's this this flying helicopter what do you call it? It's a VTOL. But because it was flying, you dealt less damage, and you had you couldn't hit it with certain things, and so I ended up having to like augment my stuff for like anti-air and like flak machine guns, so I could, because I almost quit there because that fight was kind of difficult, because I had to augment how I played and specifically get anti-air cannons, anti-air rockets, and flak machine guns, and I had to take them on that way. But I ended winning it, but that was like that was a wall that almost stopped me, and that was probably about halfway through the game. But then after that, we got through it pretty good. Do you remember that? I think I warned you prior.
I don't remember having anything like that, but you might have gave me a big enough heads up that I was able to prepare.
I was like, hey, make sure when you get here, you equip these weapons and you upgrade them as high as you can. We always try to do that, help out each other so things are easier.
Yeah, we always talk about that one thing too, where we're playing the same game and one of us has a hard time with something, and then the other person walks right through it, and then vice versa.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. I'm watching this again. I don't know what to keep because I'm watching Reborn footage here. I haven't seen him go into the turn-based combat. They might have removed, because you said something about tank. I don't know if it was tank physics, but I have not seen them go into.
Well, it said that it added an ATB system, which is active time battle, right?
Maybe, but they're not like changing screen. He's not changing screens into a separate combat screen. He's just fighting them straight onto here. Maybe that's the ATB. Maybe I don't see an ATB bar. Maybe it's like an invisible, because he's like shooting, and then he has to like wait for his menu to pop back up while another thing shoots at him. But there's no changing. It looks cool, but it's like
I like the turn based.
Yeah, well, that turn based. I mean, if it's ATB, it's Final Fantasy. I mean, that's not too bad, but it does look different. It looks so much better. Like, it's crazy that I don't know how much it cost them to, like, I don't know if the game itself is overall better, but it's crazy they put this much effort into basically almost remaking a game that didn't sell all that terribly well for them. Mm-hmm. But it looks different enough that I'm interested to play it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'll get that dog. I think the dog game is Metal Dog is only on Switch in English. Like, we can't get it on PS4. But I'll wish list it on my Switch and grab it sometime too. Because I did grab I'll pivot to. I'm not going to change game. We talked about those other games. That podcast we talked about Opus. I grabbed one of the other Opus games on Switch. I haven't dug into it yet, but sometimes you can only find those more obscure games buried in the Switch. But I'll be looking at Metal Dog. Like today, I'll pull up my Switch that's got a foot of dust on it. I'll pull it out to see if I can find Metal Dogs on there. Yeah,
just blow it.
Yeah. Still blowing out my Nintendo stuff, just like the old cartridges. But now for a different reason, I got to blow the dust off my Switch.
I think we've talked about it enough. We did talk about the fact that we didn't beat it, but I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah. I wonder if it'll be handled differently in that little in Reborn, if it's able to be able to beat that one. I'm not going to put it too high on the GameFly, but I am kind of interested to play that version. Honestly, that says something about a game too. If it did like an upgraded re-release, and we still want to play that, liked it enough to want to play it again. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would. I mean, I'd play this Reborn version for sure.
Well, one kind of cool thing too for Metal Max Xeno is they did put out 2 games. There was a Metal Max 4, which didn't come to America, and then there was a Metal Max Fireworks, which was a mobile game. And both of those,
trying to make some money.
yeah, both of them were met with lackluster fanfare. It says considering,
Which is bad because mobile game is not. It's not frowned upon in Japan as much as it is here.
yeah. Let's see, yeah, right here. Okay, considering Metal Max 4 featured a variety of elements from the series, but it ended up having poor sales. Miyaoka, that's just the game director, decided to go back to basics with the series, deciding to create a different Metal Max game, which is Metal Max Xeno, but reverting back to like the basics. Which is the turn-based combat and stuff like that. Which they
didn't change again on Reborn.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And I think they want people to like this, and they're floundering to find the spot where people actually notice the game. Is what it seems like, which sucks because it's cool.
Yeah, and with Xeno, Metal Max Xeno, there is New Game Plus. There's 2 different versions of New Game Plus. Mm-hmm. There's New Game Plus Story Mode, which does let you replay through all the story, and then it has all the character progression and items and everything. But certain things are locked behind, story beats, of course. But then you have a thing called Hunter Mode, which allows you to access to everything, all your weapons, all your equipment, all the items and everything you have, and it literally just lets you focus on. There's no story. It just says, here you go, let's start you back at the very beginning of the game, but here's everything, and just go kill things, go do bounty hunt. You have access to all the bounty hunts, all that, and it's just kind of like, it says there's literally no story in Hunter Mode. It's just go kill things. So that might be something, and more interesting for people. But there are 2 different types of New Game Plus once you beat the game.
Oh, there is an ATB bar. Sorry, I wasn't watching this.
You good?
I can see it now on the side of the screen. Oh man, I should have played this one. I mean, they're almost like 2 different games.
Yeah.
Literally almost like 2 different games. Whoop, he made a mistake. He's about to get killed.
You're all good. Okay, do you want to give our ratings and then announce our next game?
Yeah. You know the game, right? We talked. I hate we do this.
I know.
Okay, you talk. I know we talked about it like yesterday.
Yeah, I'll drop it and then we'll pick something for after that. I just want to do this one, so I wanted to get it out of the way.
I'll do mine real quick because I know what my number is, and I kind of thought about I didn't have my rating written down, but I kind of thought about it. I would have beat a dead horse, but not a dead horse. This game's fine. We enjoyed it, and you don't have to like people think, oh, you didn't beat it. It must mean the game sucks. There's a lot of games that I've played over years that I've really enjoyed, probably, and then not really beat them. There's more games that I haven't beat because I didn't like them, but there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with like enjoying a game almost all the way through, and then you get to the part. And I wish we beat it. I wish we beat it. Yeah, because it's cool. Beating it was just honestly, we would have beat the big. They had a whole frustrating thing of changing all our tanks. Finally, kill the last boss to get an ending we don't care about. Like
I read the ending. We would have been mad.
Yeah, so all of that mess to sour the experience. Exactly. So make those kind of choices when you're playing it. If you enjoyed something as much as we enjoyed this we said 29 to 30
hours.
Yeah. If you're enjoying it and something's starting to turn that thing, to quit that game. There's so many freaking games, man. Quit that crap and play something else. But like take that, like we're in for this. Take the positive experience of this because we didn't talk any track. Like we could have complained about we could have spent the whole time like, oh, we didn't beat it, so it sucks. We avoid that, skip that crap. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like we enjoyed this game
very much. So.
Yeah, the game's far from perfect, but we enjoyed this enough that I'm interested in looking at Reborn. Like Reborn looks freaking cool.
Yeah, and I'll try the Metal Dogs. It looks fun.
Yeah, Metal Dogs looks cool too.
And we might go back and play because we have analog pockets. We might go back and play original Metal Max games from the NES and stuff like that. We might look them up.
Find them. They're in English is the problem.
Yeah.
I think you said Metal Saga was part of the franchise.
Metal Saga.
I have a vision in my head of Metal Saga on PS2 that I've seen it before. It's like an RPG that we wanted to buy at some point. So I feel like it's part of the same, sort of part of the same.
There's a split differential, but they're basically the same thing.
Anyway. Before I go on and just not trying to fluff the time of the podcast or anything like that, and I don't let Blake say his piece, I enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to play Reborn at some point. It could be years from now, but like it doesn't matter. This is a cool game that I think people should be at least attempting because of the uniqueness of the tank. Like you don't have tank combat in RPGs. You just don't have this. That alone should have got this game more notice.
Well, there's that Fugo game. Memory of Steel.
That's a side-scrolling making choices kind of. That's not a JRPG at all. Like that's a wholly different Fugo Memories of Steel, whatever it's called. Yeah. That's the completely different thing. And Sandland, is that the new thing with the last game with Akira Toriyama's art? What's it called?
Sandland, I think so. Yeah,
something like that. Was there tanks in that too? But anyway, it's just really uncommon. Like, why people jump on things that are uncommon? Why jump on every dime a dozen freaking every game you see every day? Like, people should be looking at stuff like this. So it's not perfect, but it's I'll say it's mostly good. It could, and I think the Reborn refresher probably makes it even better. I would think. We'll see. That said, my rating might seem low after that glowing review, but like this game is a really strong 7. I give it 7 giant cannons attached to my tank out of 10. It's a good 7's really good to me. Like, our ratings don't mean nothing. The ratings are for fun. You're like, 7 sounds low for what you've been saying about the game. I mean, this ain't no. I mean, this ain't no Death Stranding. I mean, they're not comparable. Like, Death Stranding's like an 11 out of 10 for me. What are you gonna do? But it's a very, very solid game. No crashes, no glitches, no nothing. It's patched and taken care of. Like, you can do a lot worse than spending your time with Metal Max Xeno.
All right, I agree with you on that.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I was writing something. I agree with you on that. Like I said, I enjoyed some of the characters. The story was, nothing unique necessarily. I did get annoyed with the sexual harassment of the one character. Again, the main thing that anyone cares about is combat. Combat was fun, and I never got bored of it.
Yeah.
I was like trying new stuff and getting the new weapons, and you're like, ooh, let me upgrade. And then seeing the fact, and not every weapon did. Sometimes it was just a skin change, but seeing the different weapon styles and seeing, them cosmetically look different.
Like a cannon that has like a dragon head on the front of it. It's just like,
just a cannon that would, then like I said, there were some special weapons that was like literally a punch glove.
Yeah.
Or like a drill bit.
The sound weapons that are like little satellite looking
sonar
things.
Dishes,
Little sonar, they shoot sound waves. I mean, come on.
It's silly, kind of arcadey, graphicsy fun. I will follow Drew as well. I give it a 7 machine guns firing all at once out of 10.
There you go. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so with that, I think we will announce our next game.
I know we talked about it, but go ahead and surprise me.
Now,
oh wait, I remember now. Because you just beat it.
We just beat it, and I want to talk about it while it was.
You just beat it.
I just beat it.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about it while it was fresh, because if we don't, I'll forget about it because it's forgettable.
Let's go ahead and sell it for our next episode.
But the game I'm talking about is Marvel's Midnight Sun.
Yeah,
Midnight Suns.
Have I talked about it on this podcast? I'm checked out of Marvel completely. I tried a couple of months back, and Blake's going to do it too. I finally played God's Gift to Earth, Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4. I played the PS5 version. All I ever heard about that game was the absolute perfection of gaming that it is. Do yourself a favor, play this. It's the best game ever made. Blah blah blah. Spider-Man. We're not going to do a Spider-Man episode. We might do a bit. Because Blake's gonna punish himself and play it for too long. I hope Blake enjoys Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the most boring. Excuse my language. Spider-Man PS4 was the most boring pile of shit that I've played in such a long time. I don't cuss on this podcast, but it is. Go Google reviews and just like fall in love with everything we're gonna say. Maybe try, if you haven't played it, maybe try playing the most boring game you've ever played in your life. That's all I'm going to say. I'll save it. We'll do a mini thing. We'll do a mini talk about it. And I hope Blake enjoys it. I hope Blake finds fun. The rest, I am the one guy out of millions of copies sold that absolutely hated the Spider-Man game. I hated it when hated it when I turned it on, hated every second of playing it, hated every line of dialogue, hated everything. I platinumed that piece of crap because it's easy to platinum. Searching the entire time for an inkling of joy that does not exist in that game. That's me. Fingers crossed Blake finds something to like. He's not playing it right away because he just played a Marvel game. He played Marvel Midnight Suns. He is more accepting, though still tired, more accepting of the Marvel-ness of the world right now. I cannot stand it. So I told him, I was like, if there's anything worth playing about Midnight Suns, you have to tell me. I'm not touching this game. First night playing, he says, you're not going to play this. You're not going to play this because it's so Marvel. And there's a lot of I don't want to dig too deep into Marvel. What he's been telling about the game, it's so Marvel, so over Marveled that it takes away from what the game could have been.
Yeah.
So we'll save that for the next episode. Go play Spider-Man.
And Marvel Midnight Suns. There's good stuff. It's cool. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a good thing. I won't have a whole. I didn't touch the game at all. So it's going to be like a really Blake heavy episode. So hope he's going to lubricate his throat and everything like that. And get ready to talk for an hour and a half or so about Marvel Midnight Suns. He has a lot of thoughts to share and he has the positive and the negatives. There's good and bad about all video games. I'll be trying to help along the way of. Just keep the conversation going for a game that I refuse to touch. That's Marvel Midnight Suns. You may have not even heard of it. It's weird. It's got a weird spot where you read right now. People who are mentioning it are like, why did nobody talk about this game? Why did nobody talk about this? Which is weird considering in the world of Marvel, everything Marvel gets played to death. Mm-hmm. Mentioning like the Guardians of the Galaxy game, Blake told me, do not touch this. Which he quit playing out of sheer boredom and annoyance of the nonstop chatter. But he played all the way through Midnight Suns. We'll wait for the podcast for him to tell us why, if there's a good reason why he played all the way through Midnight Suns. If anything, it's unique among the Marvel games. It's not an action game. It's a turn-based sort of strategy kind of thing. Sort of.
Yeah. The developer is important.
Yeah, that's all that we talked about on the episode. We do have a brother podcast spawned out of this called Suspension of Disbelief.
Oh, you jumped ahead of me.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I mean anything else about games in general.
Oh.
But I will, before you do that, I will thank Jared and the guys of Emerge for letting us use the song Letting Go to open this podcast. It's awesome. Spoilers. I've already talked to Jared. He's going to come on our podcast for our next guest episode.
The 120? Oh, no, 130.
130. Jared's going to come on. He's been too busy touring, I'm guessing, and living life to play a whole lot of video games. So that episode's going to go back to, not go backwards, but it's going to be like, we'll talk about whatever games he's may have been playing, but we're going to talk about his most recent experiences and his current tours. And they've opened for a bunch of really cool bands recently. So, but we'll have Jared back on. He's super excited. I never seen somebody answer a message on Facebook so freaking fast as he was super excited to come back on the podcast. Because if I feel bad because when we saw him in concert last, he asked about coming back on again, and God knows how long ago that was. But the world just moves so fast. But he was ready to come back on and just talk about games and music and stuff. So we don't usually announce guests so soon, but he's already said he's coming back on. It's a month from now probably. We'll have the episode
more than
So Jared is coming back on. Follow Emerge on all their social medias, go to their tours, buy their merch, support them. They just put out a music video for Alive Again, which is awesome.
It's out?
I think it's out. I mean, I've seen them show all the snippets and stuff of it.
I didn't know if it was out.
It's mostly footage from one of their shows.
Yeah.
So if you're curious about all that stuff, support that. Thanks to Milad Markovic, a.k.a. Devious.Pixel, for all the art for this podcast. It's awesome, of course. It's on all our shirts. It's all over the faces. He's the face of the podcast without, and he knows. I think we told him he was when he's on the episode 70. Unofficial face of the podcast. Not his actual face, but his art is the face of the podcast. He's a great guy. Listen to episode 70 if you want to hear him talk about art and video games and stuff like that. Very cool episode. And thanks to Brian for editing the podcast and sticking with us. I know he's does this for the most, I guess they're just hanging out and playing video games. Can't, who doesn't want to do that? So that's what we glad to have him around for, that playing games with us and stuff. Now you can say your part. Don't jump ahead of me. There's some semblance of structure to this podcast every now and then. The one semblance of structure we have is the beginning part and the end part. You can't mess that up.
What? So we do have a brother podcast that spawned out of this one. Ever since our restructure, we started to focus specifically on video games. I still like to talk about movies. It's called Suspension of Disbelief. Or me and our good buddy Steve, we take turns semi-surprising each other with a movie, and we do a deep dive into it. We talk about actors. Sometimes we'll talk about the actors and the people behind the movie like an hour or something before we even start talking about the movie. Mm-hmm. We do talk about scenes, and if we can find this specific scenes or cool camera techniques and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, we just kind of do deep dive, and we spoil everything about the thing.
Yeah, full spoiler warning.
And that's just that. We just have fun talking about movies and all different sorts of movie genres. Like we've covered stuff just kind of like just a genre cover. We've covered
Everything by now.
Yeah, we've covered stuff. One of the things from like 1944, 1945, Double Indemnity, which is like a noir movie, and then in like 2018 or 20, no, I think of 2020, we did Paddington 2. You know, just an adorable
it's all over it,
kids movie. And then we just cover whatever we feel like. Like I said, we try to surprise one
Both of
another.
them have big lists, and they try to pick based on the recent. Blake tried. I don't know about Steve, but you try to pick based on recent genres to not get the same genre over and over.
Yeah, I try
again.
not to. I do try to change it up every time I pick.
Yeah.
And then I do have a short story that I self-published on Amazon called "They Come This Night." It is free if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, member, whatever you want to call it. If you are not, it is just $1. Please go check that out, rate that, review that. I'm incredibly proud of that. And that's it for my self-promotion.
That was your boy, Blake.
Yeah, this was your boy, Balake. And I want to wish everybody a good evening and good night.